Nityanandam, this is Sri Amrutananda. I actually wanted to share my journey of becoming an aadheenavasi. It's been a beautiful journey, for me. Happening of my master, how my guru happened in my life, and how everything just so beautifully changed my life, and how I was, growing up. So it's when I kind of sit down and think through this, it's contemplate. It's just been a very deep experience, for me, even contemplating it. So I thought I'll just share this, with the world, and so I'm just making this video. So I actually am from South India, and I was born in a city in Chennai, and my parents were from two different places. Chennai, and one was from Andhra Pradesh. So multiple different languages. So when I was born, since childhood, we moved to Bangalore, in South India, and I've been raised there for quite some time. All my childhood, I would say, until probably until 22 or so. So how my childhood was, I always grew up in a joint family. My father had two brothers, and we were living in a joint family where we had a 8-bedroom house, and multiple kitchens, and olden style house, where you have a veranda space in the center of the house, where all the family members meet in the evening, and chit chat, that kind of thing. So it was sometimes I grew up in this atmosphere, around people, until the age of probably about 14, 15 or so, and then we moved out, and we were staying in a different house. But all my childhood, I did go to English speaking school, and there were multiple languages. I learned Sanskrit, and I learned Sanskrit was actually my third language. And now I feel when I do recite, chant mantras, and do pujas, really, I feel having Sanskrit as my third language, I was definitely at a disadvantage. Now I feel, I was at such a disadvantage. Now, had I had Sanskrit as a first language, I would really understand the scriptures, and have the ability to relate with the language, and the agamas, and the Hindu lifestyle and Hindu scriptures. But nevertheless, I'm connected with it now, no, sooner than later, and I'm so happy now. At a later point in my career, I did get a chance to be closer with Sanskrit. So while I was growing, I also went to Ramakrishna Ashram, during my summer holidays. Whenever I had like about 2 months, 3 months of off from the school on summer vacation holidays, I used to be in Gurukul Vihar, in Ramakrishna Ashram, close to my house, and I spent significant time, in Ramakrishna Ashram for many many years. I think probably I can remember until the age of 16. I used to 16 or even 18, I can say. I used to regularly go to Ramakrishna Ashram, have different activities, you know, um, um, learn music, learn chanting, clean the park, play with the balasans, and also um, also have uh, um, I got exposed to prayers, in the evening, singing songs about Ramakrishna, on Ramakrishna, and I used to love those songs. I used to, and I also watch kids movies. That was a fun part. So I grew up this way for quite some time, and my liking towards understanding, and even in my house, both my parents are kind of orthodox, and they relate with the deities, and very well. We do puja at home every day, and we celebrate all festivals, Hindu festivals in South India, and visiting the temple. Every day, my mom and dad actually visit the close by temple, and I used to go with one of them every day. So that was a lifestyle that I grew up, all the way until my school, and also probably during my initial part of my high school as well, all through the high school, I think. Lot of incidents that happened during this time have stayed with me for a long time, especially some of the friends I met. I made some very nice friends during that time in the Ramakrishna Ashram. I still remember them, and some of the chantings, that I learned. Even today, I remember them, and if somebody sings, I just sing along with them, and it brings back the memories, sweet memories that I had, and and all the, even today, after 26 years, 20 odd years, I should say, even when I go back home from United States, I go to the temple. I visit the temple once, in the quick stay that I can, and the really nice thing about our Indian culture really is all the pujaris, we call the priests in the temple. They still remember me as a kid. They're they're old now, and they've been in the temple for many many years, and they do recognize me even after 20 years. With the same love and affection. We have been in this community for I think my family, or for at least 1 to 2 generations, in the same place, and everybody knows our family very well, and the priests, and some of the shops around, and in the area, and also some of the some of the friends that I had made during Ramakrishna Ashram. Sometimes I meet them personally, or at least over the phone. So I really like remembering those memories that are really fresh in me even after 20 years, because it made me um, uh, I was happy. I was happy during those times. I was in the ashram, Ramakrishna ashram, for like 2-3 hours in the day in the evenings, and also at times when I visited the temples with my parents, and also at home. Most of the times, I grew up watching TV, with some of the channels where they have temples, pujas, and or maybe um, programs around competitions, singing competitions, and things like that. I always saw very less of movie kind of a guy. I was not a movie kind of a guy, but all of this really reflected, shaped me. Growing up, even after I went to United States, around in um, 93. Uh, Even after 20 odd years in the United States, my life did not change because of the solid experience I had in my when I was young, and through my high school. I still at home I still like to watch spiritual channels about temples, about deities, and things like that. That makes me that keeps me a little happier than being stressed. About watching a horror movie, or watching some kind of a action thriller, and things like that. It just puts my space. I'm in a different space for if I watch them in the evenings before I sleep, and I may not sleep that well, and things like that. So it's always um, how happy I was during the times when I was visiting the ashram. I wanted to be in that same space over and over again. Even when I was growing up, and I was fond of being in that space. Just being calm. Nothing can bother me. I like to be on my own sometimes, and I like to just do some things that's kind of calm and uh, cool, where I really don't have to stress myself, and things like that. So even when I grew up in U.S., I was always I was missing this greatly. I was missing this greatly. Going to temples. Obviously, I lived in Charlotte, and there was only one temple 20 miles away, and a small deity, and it's no way close to how deities are even um, treated, or the Western way of um, uh, doing puja and things like that. So I was really missing this that atmosphere, and wherever I went in certain parts in U.S., like New York, Pennsylvania, and there were some very nice temples, SV Temple, Venkateshwara Temple, and a few other temples, where it brought back the same memories. And I used to drive 300-400 miles over the weekend to just visit the temple, just rejoice that space, and just have a beautiful darshan of the deities. So this is how my life was. I was always looking for that space over and over again, and until in 2009, um, I met Swamiji, and when I met Swamiji, I was actually going through a 7 Elnard, Rashi. They call the I believe it's a Saturn effect. So while I was going through, I didn't even know about it. And it's only in the fifth year or fourth year, sometime, my mom, she got to know from the local temple here, one of our family priests, saying that I'm going through this, and I got to be careful and da da da. So that's when I came to know about all this, and I didn't even knew the significance of this um, Saturn effect and all that. So even then, at my home, even in when I was in U.S., I met Swamiji in 2009 when we came, His Holiness Sri Paramahamsa Nityananda, my guru, and that really tilted the whole thing for me, and that was a good thing, that my sixth, seventh year, the we call it as Shani, did really opening up the possibility of me meeting an incarnation, a master. And once I met him, that was a change that happened beautifully. After that, it was, for me, it was just a logical, what do you call it, it was a very logical move for me to transition whatever happened in the last 6-8 years, where after I met Swamiji, I did one of the best programs called Inner Awakening. My life so beautifully changed. I had a business for about 8 years, and I was very successful in that. And then I started a home temple. We started a home temple in Charlotte, and our association with the deities and doing puja every day. So I used to enjoy doing the puja every day, taking care of the deities, and all of the whole right way of taking care of the deities and things like that, a proper way, a Hindu way. And for many years things happened, and then after that, it was a natural progression for me to kind of move to my next step in my spiritual path, to be around my master, His Holiness Sri Paramahamsa Nityananda. And now I am in 2017. I've just wind up my career in USA, and we are moved back with my family, and we are residing in the ashram as aadheenavasis in South India, in Bidadi. And I feel this is the best decision that I made, and this is where my life is, and I've enjoyed, and I've just been waiting for this moment, I think, and I'm here, and I'm so happy. And so if anybody who's watching this need to want to connect with me and know more about the aadheenavasi lifestyle here, as well as how I was empowered to make this decision, to move here after a very successful career in the United States, and many other things that I would get, once I'm here, being able to express all the powers of Mahadeva, and giving myself, the possibility of being a superhuman, being able to express all the powers of third eye, and all the remote vision and body scanning and all that I can do now. I can do all of that, and if anybody is keen to connect with me and find out more about this, please comment on this video. I can get in touch with you, and I'm looking forward to sharing. Thank you. Nityanandam.